Well, it's Sunday. It is the 8th of May, 2022, and in North America, it is Mother's Day. And so on this day, I want to talk a little bit about perhaps a little known character who just epitomizes for me trust in the Lord as a mother who really was up against some very difficult situations. Hear the word of the Lord then from Genesis chapter 16, beginning to read at verse 7. Hear his word. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. It was a spring that is beside the road to Shur. And he said, Hagar, servant of Sarai or Sarah, where have you come from and where are you going? I'm running away from my mistress Sarah, she answered. Then the angel of the Lord told her, go back to your mistress, submit to her. And then the angel added these words, I will so increase your descendants that they will be too numerous to count. The angel of the Lord also said to her, you are now with child, and you will have a son, and you shall name him Ishmael. This is the word of the Lord. It's a fascinating story. It's a story about an underdog. The underdog's name is Hagar. Hagar is an Egyptian woman. She is working in the household of Abraham and Sarah. At that time, he was called Abram. She was called Sarai. And so here she is. She's working. She's a slave. She's a servant in their household. And Abraham and Sarah cannot have children, at least at this point. And so Sarah decides that, a good idea would be, an acceptable practice in the day, that if I cannot bear a child for Abraham, then I will give my servant girl to him for those purposes. And so here we have the picture. We have Hagar, who is not in her homeland. She is away from her country. She is in a work situation that is probably far from ideal. Now she has to sleep with an old man that she probably doesn't even like. But here we have the story. And when she sleeps with this old man, she then becomes pregnant. And it's interesting how this now begins to go downhill from there. Abraham slept with her, verse 4 says, and she conceived. But it also tells us that when she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress, Sarah. And there begins one of the greatest battles of all time. Verse 5 said, Sarah said to Abraham, you are responsible for the wrong that I'm suffering. I put my servant in your arms, and now that she knows she's pregnant, she despises me. Abraham responds to Sarah, and I love it. She's your servant. Do with her whatever you think is best. Now, this is what I don't love. Then Sarah mistreated Hagar, so she ran away. Now, this is the context that helps us understand the entire story of Hagar. It appears that she intended to go back home to Egypt because the geographical reference places her near the Egyptian border, and it is here that she's intersected by the angel of the Lord. The angel calls her by name and calls her by her profession. And then says, where have you come from? And where are you going? Surely this is the question for the ages. Now, even though it has context and even though it has a specific reference, we all need to ask that question. Or we all need to have that question asked of us. Where did you come from? And where are you going? Well, the Irishman who's asked, where did you come from, responds, I came from me mammy, which is which is true. Yes, we all come from our mammies. But there is a sense in which our destiny and our reason to exist goes much deeper than this. And so the angel of the Lord has given instruction to Hagar to go back and submit to her mistress with the promise that her descendants will be too numerous to count. You are with child, and you will have a son, and you will call him Ishmael. For the Lord has heard your misery. For the Lord has heard your misery. Then Hagar gave this name to the Lord. Chapter 16, verse 13. You are the God who sees me. For she said, I have now seen the one who sees me. Or if I were to transliterate this carefully, I have now seen the one who has seen me all along. What a story this is. Abraham was so distressed over what had happened because when she returns and Hagar follows the instruction of the angel of the Lord, things actually get even worse. Chapter 17 describes God's covenant with now a 99-year-old Abraham, no longer Abraham, and Sarah, no longer Sarai. She gives birth now to the promised Isaac, and things get really interesting. Hagar re-enters the scene in chapter 21 of Genesis, and once Isaac was weaned, Abraham threw a great feast to celebrate that. But Sarah caught Ishmael, remember, the child of Abraham and Hagar. She caught Ishmael mocking the event. He was old enough now to do that. And once again, she demands that Abraham gets rid of Hagar and Ishmael. So the first time, Hagar is not so much driven out, but she leaves as a single pregnant woman, and now this time she is driven out as a single mother. Abraham is distressed over this because Ishmael was as much a son to him as Isaac was. And God interrupts his anxiety with these words, don't be distressed about the boy and our maidservant. Isn't that interesting? Don't be distressed about the boy and our maidservant. Listen to what Sarah tells you, because it's through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned or counted. But I will also make a nation out of Ishmael too, because he is your offspring. So Abraham packs up some vitals. He gives them to Hagar and to Ishmael and sends them off into the wilderness of Beersheba. And when the water ran out, and when they had nothing more to eat, death seemed inevitable. Hagar sat down about a bow's length away from the boy because she didn't want to watch him die. And then the angel of the Lord cried out from heaven, because the boy has been heard of God, don't be afraid. God has heard his cry. Go and lift him and take him by the hand, for I will make him a great nation. God opened the eyes of Hagar to see a well of water called Lahai Roi, the well of him that lives and sees me. And the boy grew up. He grew up in the desert and became an archer, and his mom got him a wife from Egypt. On this Mother's Day, it's not the kingpin mothers that have priority. It's not the perfect households that get to celebrate. Sometimes it's the broken ones. Sometimes it's the situations where a bow's length from where you are, Mom, there's a son or a daughter who's just dying. and the water of life has run out, and the food has run out, and everything you try to do has just run out. And it's at that moment, Mom, when you might not reach the headlines of Christianity Today or Faith Today or Herald of Holiness or whatever it is. You might not reach the banner headlines of being that pristine mom, but I tell you, if you are like Hagar, who comes to a place where she recognizes God, but not only recognizes God, she actually recognizes the God who has seen her before she saw him. That's the message. So in the midst of all the flowers, and in the midst of all the cards, and in the midst of all the celebration, I want to lift up Hagar today to you as an example of one who was in a desperate situation, who was the underdog, who couldn't see the wood for the trees, who had tried everything and was still desperate. On this Mother's Day, I say to you, lift up your eyes. See the God who has been watching you all through this journey, and he will deliver you. He will provide not only a well of water to assuage the thirst, he will not only provide food for the journey, and when that runs out, he will provide something greater than all of this. Perhaps the greatest experience of a mother on this Mother's Day is simply this: to be able to see the God clearly who has been seeing you and caring for you for a long, long time. God bless you. Thank you for who you are. We'll look forward to talking again next week. Bye for now.